Hello, Shabbat.
Hello. I don't see anybody.
Can see you.
Interesting.
I don't think Rabbi's on yet.
Oh, little technical problems, maybe.
I bet.
Who's he staying?
There you are. Hi.
Hey, Richard,
He's muted.
you're muted.
You want to click this arrow to see who else? Or this view? Gallery view.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, guys. From a hot Tucson of 107 degrees.
Oh.
Ay,
Stay
Hey,
warm.
it's better than 115.
Yeah. Well, you stay in, right?
As much as I do, yeah, right, yeah. You don't go out
Yeah.
there.
No,
Too
no.
hot. Yeah.
Right.
You drink lots of water.
Any
You
rain
both
at
look-
all? Is
you
it
both
raining
look well.
at all? Any rain? It's dry out there, huh?
Someone talking?
Yes,
Yeah, Eric has asked you if it's rain or if it's dry or what.
It must be dry. No rain?
No, now you're muted, Richard.
Now we're rocking.
Tighten that frame a little bit because it shows an awful lot of empty seats.
How's that?
How do we know? This tells us it's loud.
Yep.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, oh! Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. It's so good to be here in the sanctuary. that group, which as far as I know is called FinTalk/Watch. Anyway, I had a chance to lead that today, Cameron and Camp Show, which I just finished the first week at Fox Island Park. And so I helped them bring in Shabbat. I watched the Shabbat today. Some of our young people were there, and they without having any time about it, got a chance to help me lead some of the prayers that we. So it was wonderful to be with them, and it was wonderful to be with you. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for wearing masks. And so we will continue on page 128, page 128, with our gathering song, Who Came Unto Us. How good it is that we are all here together, sisters and brothers, one who cannot stop. Even Friday evening, as we look forward to Shabbat. Continue on page 142. Page 142, with Shalom. Peace be to you, O ministering angels, messengers of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Enter in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High, majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing. Bless me, bless us with peace, O messengers of peace. I majesty. We continue back on page 126. Page 126. Let us read this prayer of gratitude together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision. To prepare to end Shabbat, I'd like to share a Shabbat meditation which is a really special support published by and as I read this meditation, I invite you to let it take you wherever it takes you. But perhaps think about this meditation at your kavanah be that it will help you lift your feet off the ground as a firmly planted in regular time into Shabbat. To feel your nearness. Eternal God, whose temple is the whole world.
It's bad for me here.
Good. First, we want to pin him and keep that pinned.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going across YouTube is that whole screen.
Oh, shit.
Spotlight for everyone.
At this hour, in this moment, in this place,
Remove all pin videos, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
No, that'll be.
will meet the
Oh,
toil
I didn't know that.
day of rest. as
Come down
well.
here from the speed meeting.
Pause to reflect. Source of all creation,
Oops.
you have given us the blessing of work, so that by our
Where?
efforts,
Let's go.
we may fashion things of
Oh,
use
wait.
and
That.
That's the screen.
Oh, wait.
You have also given us the Shabbat for self-renewal and sanctification. May the work of our hands and minds be acceptable to you. May this Shabbat enrich our lives, drawing us closer to you in truth and in love. Let's take a moment before we enter Shabbat. I invite Ronnie and Norm Greenberg to the Bema as we prepare to light the candles of Shabbat, which you will find the blessing for lighting on page 120. Page 120. As we light these Shabbat candles, may their light guide us into Shabbat. May their warmth remind us of the love we have for one another. Squeeze.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotot, v'tzivanu lehadlikneh shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. And now we continue our service on page 138, page 138, with the words and the tune and the passion of Lecha Dodi. This prayer, this poem, actually called a piyut, a liturgical poem, was written in Sfat in northern Israel, where there was a gathering for quite some time into today of people drawn to the mystical traditions of Jewishness. And this prayer was written as a way of welcoming Shabbat, and the image in their hearts and in their minds was the beloved one, whoever that is for each of us, the feeling that we have when we are reunited after a time of being apart. So is that feeling when we come into Shabbat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'elit hilah lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 5, Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Kiva ore kumi ori, Uri, Uri, Shir daberi, Kevod Adonai, alayik nigla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola. Toch emunei am segula, boi kala, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Take a moment and greet those, excuse me, who are joining us by Zoom. We are all together in one community tonight. It is so wonderful to see everyone joining us by Zoom. I'm especially happy every time I see him. Rabbi Safran is with us tonight. Thank you, Rabbi, for being with us. I wish you were sitting here behind me. I'll kind of pretend that you are. You can be seated. No, you can't. Sorry, we're going to re-rise for the Chatzi Kaddish. Sorry, I promise I didn't do that on purpose. We will continue on page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'elmad yivrach cherotei ve'amlik malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei kol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala uvizman kadri v'meru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'alamu al me'al maya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpara, Vitnoram, Vitnaser, Vithadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shemed Kudusha, Berichu, Le'ela, Min Kol Birchata, Beshirata, Tush Bechata, Venechemata, Tamiran be'alma vimeru. Amen. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach leolam vaed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach leolam vaed. Please be seated. We continue on page 148. And let us read together at the bottom of the page as we welcome in the evening. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Let us turn to page 151. And we can read this responsively. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love? Continue together than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. Please rise as you are able for Shema. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We'll continue on the next page. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol levavcha v'kol nafshecha u'v'kol meotecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitztavecha hayom alevavevcha Eshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu latotafot beinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Let us continue on page 158 with our song of redemption, Micha Mocha. Yai lai 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 ya lai lai yai lai lai ya lai 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 yai lai 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 ya lai lai yai lai 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 ya lai 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 Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai Mika mocha neder ba'kodesh Nora tehilot osef eleh Nora tehilot osef eleh Malechutecha ra'u vanecha Bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Zelianu ve'amru Zelianu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Yai lai 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 ya lai lai Yai lai lai ya lai 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 Ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 lai. It's hard to sing in prayer when you have allergies. Thanks for carrying on. Let us read together at the top of page 45. Page 45. We are a people in whom, excuse me, page 163. I'll wait. My page has 2 numbers on the bottom. I'll tell you about that sometime. At the top of page 163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. This is a prayer, a reading of memory. And it is fitting that every time that we come to Shabbat, we remember what Shabbat means to us as a people. But each time we come together in prayer, we remember our history. We remember our Jewish story. And I find that enriching. I find that, to be honest, energizing. And I'm always happy every Shabbat when I have the chance to remember. Let us continue on page 165. In a moment, we will rise in a moment for the Amidah, our prayer of thanksgiving, of offering blessing to God and listening to God bless us in return. When we start the prayer, we will begin on page 164 and continue on the even pages through page 170. I invite you to pray the words on the page in Hebrew or in English, or to let your eye wander to the left-hand side of the page for the interpretive readings, which are really beautiful and very enriching. Wherever you are finding yourself drawn, that is your prayer, your Amidah. Let us read together in the middle of page 165. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soil, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. Please rise as you are able. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Golmel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakoat harav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofech holim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Venemanat halachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'kol yom yahalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please continue praying silently. Let us turn to page 180 and pray for peace. Oseh Shalom, which you'll find towards the bottom of the page. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al kol kol Israel ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel. Amen. Ose shalom, shalom imromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Amen. Let us turn now to page 371. Page 371, as we prepare to offer our prayers of healing for those who are ailing in body, mind, or spirit. I'll read the list of those in our community for whom we are praying this Shabbat. And when I come to the end of that list, I'll pause and invite you to add the names of anyone for whom you are praying tonight. This Shabbat, we pray for healing for Louis Bloom, Ruth Bloom, Andrew Bosell, Pircha Bat Bracha, Adolf Breitman, Adrienne Breitman, Roberta Butts, Todd Crego, Renee Marver, Livia Margalit Bat Ileana Devora, Kaylin Nagel, Tom O'Neill, Chuck Raplain, Janet Rosenberg, Debbie Charay, Gary Smythe, Eliza Turco, Bobby Williams. And to those names we add for all these names and the names in our heart. Let us pray the Misha Barak for healing, which you'll find in the middle of page 371. Misha Barak Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. When I began rabbinical school, one of the first pieces of advice I received for thriving and surviving the long and challenging journey of rabbinical formation was to trust the process. As it turns out, most of my classmates got the same advice. The phrase, trust the process, became almost ubiquitous, a life meme of sorts that was invoked in moments of challenge and in expressions of irony. I'll be honest, in moments of fatigue and stress, I can snark with the best of them, and this phrase often left my lips. But you know what? I really did trust the process. not because I necessarily believed that anyone was looking out for me, or that education is an inherently positive endeavor, or that finally becoming a rabbi would make all the work worthwhile. I do believe these things, but they were not my primary motivation for trusting the process. I trusted because I am an inherently optimistic person, and I really needed to trust the process. I don't think I'm alone in having an optimistic outlook. Deb Ellis, the former assistant dean for public service at the NYU School of Law, wrote in a 2011 blog post that was published by the Barack Obama White House. She wrote, Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Change takes a long time, but it does happen. Each of us who works for social change is part of the mosaic of all who work for justice. Together, we can accomplish multitudes. And if we look at the history of the United States, we can see how the arc described by Dr. King has indeed bent towards justice and towards progress. Our nation started with white land-owning men making up the entire voting franchise. But with hard work, the vote was gained by Black Americans, then by women, and now every citizen of the United States has the same right to exercise their vote at the ballot box. For generations, older Americans often sank into poverty as they were no longer able to work to support themselves. The Social Security Act of 1935 created an ingenious safety net as workers pay into a system that will offer them financial support during their later years or in the event of disability. The Social Security scheme is not without its problems and its challenges, but what was once seen as a radical step towards socialism, that's what they said about it in the 1930s. Well, it's now entirely normal as most people see it. Similarly, the Medicaid and Medicare Act, actually it's the other way around, the Medicare and Medicaid Act of 1965 ensured that the older adults and those living in poverty would have access to health care, and the Affordable Care Act of 2010 extended healthcare access even further. There are many problems to solve and much work to be done, but without a doubt, Americans have made amazing progress in creating a safety net for our most vulnerable citizens and towards ensuring that all people have access to at least basic medical care. We can see Dr. King's vision of the bending arc. It is real. And one more example of progress, and this one is more personal. When I was born, LGBTQ people were classified by the psychiatric establishment as mentally ill and in many states as criminals. In my lifetime, the American Psychiatric Association has reversed its position. The Supreme Court declared laws criminalizing same-sex relationships as unconstitutional, and in the 2015 decision by the Supreme Court, equal access for marriage was granted to everyone in the land. And a year later, my beloved and I stood under the chuppah with a ketubah and a marriage certificate. I remember the years of fighting for change, and in 2 weeks, we will hear on this bima from Harriet Miller and Monica Worley, whose lives were at the front line of this fight. And my friends, optimism in the creation of justice where injustice exists is an intrinsic aspect of our Jewish tradition. Last week, Isabella Wallet taught us beautifully from the book of Numbers about the daughters of Zelophehad, who raised an injustice, their inability to inherit land when their father died, to Moses. Moses took their cause to God, and God said the law must be changed to permit them to inherit the land. This is an amazing story of agency and chutzpah on the part of these women. And it is also an amazing story of how Judaism can evolve in order to create more justice through no less than God changing God's mind. Yes, for these and for many more reasons, I believe in progress. I trust the process. But I know, and I think we all know, that Dr. King's description of the moral universe as a long arc bending towards justice can feel at times a little more aspirational than real. Let's look again at our history. Black Americans gained the right to vote, and almost immediately, Jim Crow laws established ridiculous and unjust barriers to voting. The solution, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, restored progress towards justice, but as I talked about last week, the Supreme Court has been dismantling the law. There has been incredible progress towards equality for women, but we have not been able to adopt a constitutional amendment declaring that all people are equal on the basis of sex. And the Me Too movement shows the depth of injustice in a world where too many men still exert power and control over women. And on and on. We make progress only to have justice averted. As it turns out, we can see this in Torah as well. My colleague, Rabbi Carol Balin, writes regarding the daughters of Zelophehad. Moses makes their case before God, and lo and behold, their demands are met. The daughters receive a divine promise that the land will stay in their family for perpetuity. But the startling triumph of biblical women's rights does not last long. Male relatives challenge the divine ruling in this week's double portion, Parshat Matot Maseh. They fear that they will be shortchanged should Zelophehad's daughters intermarry with those of another tribe. So God decrees that the daughters may marry anyone they wish, provided they marry into a clan of their father's tribe of Manasseh. Not a lot of latitude here. As Rabbi Hera Person has observed, by marrying the first cousins, the daughters will essentially hand over their inheritance to the same men who would have received the land had they not stood up for themselves in the first place. Does trusting the process when the daughters of Zelophehad are awarded the right to inherit their family land also require trusting the process when God decrees that the daughters can marry only within the clan of their father? Must we trust that justice will ultimately prevail? I don't have an answer to these questions, and that troubles me. But remember when I said that I'm an optimistic person? Yeah, I still am. I trust that the process of creating justice looks much more like Dr. King's arc of the moral universe than it does a roller coaster, if you look at it from the right perspective. I believe with all my heart that the moral universe does arc towards justice. It is the actions of the justice makers, the peacemakers, of ordinary people, of you and of me, that hammers the arc into shape, that smooths out the loops and turns around the reversals. Even when God mysteriously decrees an outcome that appears to work against justice, human beings made in God's image retain the free will to work for a just world. We are even commanded to do just that. So I trust the process. I believe in a moral universe that is shaped to bring all of us to justice. I trust all of you, all of us, to keep working. Shabbat shalom. As we near the conclusion of the service, I'd like to highlight a couple of announcements. Welcome to everyone, whether you're here for the first time or coming back after a time away. We are so happy to have you here in person or online. We appreciate that you're continuing to wear masks. We're watching the situation very closely, and we will continue to discuss what we'll be doing, and if and when there'll be any changes, we'll let you know. Please mark your calendars for some special Shabbat services coming up this summer. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Pride Shabbat will be 2 weeks from tonight on July 23rd here at 6 p.m. with Harriet Miller and Monica Worley, who will be giving a Devar Torah from the story of their lives. I think this is going to be a really incredible treat. I hope you can make it, and please mention it to your friends. This is going to be a very special evening. And another special evening coming up in August, we will have Friday Night Live with Heartland Sings here on our beautiful campus. We're planning an outdoor service of incredible music from the Friday Night Live songbook. And it's going to be a really special evening. And we have some other things, other exciting things planned that you'll hear about really soon that night. So please join us on August 20th if you can. And I want to thank our ushers. Let's see, our ushers tonight. I want to thank Mike, and I want to thank Denny, and I want to thank Marie, who is normally not here at night. She's normally here in the daytime doing all the things that allow us to be able to be here tonight. But tonight she's here too, and she's running Zoom for us. So thank you very much for doing that, all of you. And thank you for our security team for keeping us safe tonight. And every week we have an email that goes out, usually on Thursday mornings, with lots of information about things going on in the communities, in our community, and we have a pretty robust Facebook page. So check all that out and you will be up to speed on everything that's going on. And it's more than a little. We will continue our service on page 586. Page 586. Please rise as you are able for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, ba'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlakim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. You may be seated for a moment. I invite you to turn to page 598 as we have come to the time in our service when we remember those who are no longer with us, those who have died recently or in this season in years past. In a moment, I will read our communal Kaddish list, those who we are remembering together. And when I come to the end of that list, I'll pause. And if you are remembering anyone tonight, I'll invite you to share their name with us at that time so that we can remember with you. This Shabbat continues the period of Shloshim, the death within the past 30 days of Carol Friedman and Kip Lenhart. We continue the period of Shana, the death within the past year of Manny Silverman, Ruby Jackson, Ron Subik, Harold Prigozhin, Sarah Lee Levin, Marilyn Salen, Marvin Krell, Jack Rosenberg, Leah Batmanasha Vabaila, Kathy Jarvis, James Lieb, Norman Snow, Joan Kramer. This Shabbat is the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of Kalman Beck, Alana Ben Yeshua, Bart Broders, Alfred Milton Bronstein, Herman Fisher, Simon Freiberger, Jerry Friedman, Joe Gerson, Clara Goldfarb, Charlotte Lottie Goldstein, Florence Good, Nathan Hendelman, Israel Kaplansky, Isaac Kretzman, Joan Lesson, Isidore Marks, Saul Mastbaum, Celia Mercersky, Marshall Paulus, Dr. Eric Ray, Raul Roderick, Milton J. Rosenthal Jr., Rose Moyer Rothberg, Benjamin Rothschild, Nathan Rothschild, Charles Samet, Thomas Satori. And to those names we add for all these names, the names we carry in our heart, the names of those who perished in the Shoah, and the names of all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. I invite you to rise in solidarity as a community for Kaddish Yatom on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra cherutei ve'amlik malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomachon v'chayei dekol beit Israel, bagala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarak le'olam ulmei almaya, Yitbarak v'ishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitnoram v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'yishirata, tush bechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'akol Israel v'imru amen. You may be seated. And now for a little closing song, why don't we continue the way that we began? Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, chiri biri biri bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. As we go off into our evenings, sadly, we're still not going off into an oneg, a time for some visiting and some noshing together. Someday, hopefully not too far away, we'll be doing that together again. But tonight, I will offer a brief kiddush that we can take and carry into our Shabbat meals. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I will meet you outside to say hello.